Have you ever wondered why ancient Rome was so big? It stretched across continents and included the territory of modern-day Italy, Spain, France, England, Greece, Egypt, Turkey. This is even more impressive when you consider the original size of Rome, which was a small settlement in the hills by the Tiber River. But there is one important thing that many people don't know. What were the reasons pushing Rome to expand? Let me take you on a little historical tour where you will learn how and why ancient Rome became so large. Ancient Rome was a state that existed from the 8th century BC to the 5th century AD. Its heart was in the center of modern Italy, the city of Rome, which was founded on the Tiber River. In the beginning, it was a small settlement that was located between two civilizations, Etruscans in the north and the Greek colonies in the south. In the early years, Rome was ruled by kings who were assisted and advised by the Senate, a council consisting of the heads of the aristocratic families, and a public assembly, the Comitia Curiata. During the era of the kings, Rome expanded very little. Then the kings were replaced by the republic, and that changed a lot of things. What was that about? Rome's growth is often associated with their success in the military campaigns. They grew because they were good at warfare. Fair enough. However, this does not provide any explanation as to why they got into these military campaigns in the first place. Let's break it down. It all started with defense. Rome became an important member of the Latin League of City-States, but that didn't guarantee its security. On the contrary, Rome had to defend herself against the hill tribes, but also against the Latin cities, which were afraid that Rome would try to expand her sway over their territory, and against Celtic gangs, who repeatedly pillaged Italy after 400 BC and practically destroyed the Etruscan cities. The process of expansion began in the middle of the 4th century BC. In 338, Rome subjected the Latin cities and concluded treaties with the most important city-states in Campania. That brought the most fertile and most densely populated regions of central Italy within Rome's sphere of influence and vastly expanded its military resources. After 326 BC, a multiplicity of minor local and regional conflicts in different parts of Italy merged into a number of protracted coalition wars. Rome emerged from these wars as the mistress of the whole of peninsular Italy, with the exception of the Greek cities in the south. Those cities were subjected in the years between 282 and 270, in spite of the help that they received from King Pyrrhus of Epirus. After the fall of the last king, the patricians dominated the political scene in Rome. They held the most important positions in all organs of power and controlled every aspect of social and economic life. However, the patricians' powerful position was challenged by groups of dissatisfied plebeians, people of lower status. The debt problem was really serious. In this circumstance, wars would then temporarily distract attention from the internal problems. The subsequent division of booty and the settlement of poor, propertyless Roman and Latin citizens in colonies would ease a lot of tension. Such practices created new social norms. The Roman citizens came to regard warfare as an ordinary sideline and a lucrative, if hazardous, source of extra income, for it implied possibility of acquiring booty and land. Citizens who had hitherto been excluded from the army on the grounds that they had no property now came to belong to the property classes from which troops were recruited. For the Roman elite, military fame was the chief status symbol, the best means to access to an honorable career in the state offices. This brings us to much of the conquests Rome would achieve in the Punic Wars, where it would face its main rival, Carthage. The Punic Wars were by no means easy for Rome, but it won all of them and destroyed Carthage. The result was that Rome gained Sicily, Sardinia, Corsica, the Po Valley, southern Spain, southern Gaul and northern Africa. The status of the newly acquired territories, interestingly enough, was not the same as that of the Roman conquered lands in Italy. Most of them became provinces. It could be described as a form of military control in a war-threatened area, even though not all of these lands were in front-line position. Victory in the Second Punic War provided an opportunity for further conquests. In a series of brief, successful wars between 200 and 146 BC against Macedonia, the leagues of Greek states, and the Seleucid kingdom, Rome established its hegemony over them. All that Rome initially demanded from her conquered opponents in the East and North Africa was that they acknowledged Rome's hegemony and paid the requested tributes. Subsequently, however, Macedonia, Greece and North Africa became provinces. The enormous conquests changed Rome's life considerably. Increasing amounts of tributes and taxes flowed from the subjected territories onto Rome's treasury. The tributum, the property tax that had burdened the Roman citizens in Italy, was no longer collected after 167 BC. The city began to grow rapidly. In the last years of the Republic, the state of affairs changed again. The pursuit of private interests, power and wealth of a small number of political magnates was now the engine of expansion. The two most important figures of this period are Pompey and Caesar. In 64-63 BC, acting on his own authority, Pompey reorganized Asia Minor into a system of Roman provinces and vassal kingdoms and annexed Syria and Judea to the Roman Empire. The Euphrates came to mark the border between the Roman Empire and the kingdom of the Parthians. In the years 58-50 BC, Caesar conquered all of Gaul up to the Rhine River. This was the same logic for Rome's first emperor Augustus. He needed to consolidate his power, and territorial acquisitions were a symbolic act. Egypt, which had been incorporated into Roman Empire in 30 BC, was an imperial province of a special category. It was considered the emperor's private domain. Augustus' generals conquered the northwest of Spain, the Alps and the Danubian plain. It may well be that Rome's expansion simply ended where it became too much of an effort or too unbeneficial to continue it. Under Augustus, Roman imperialism may have been motivated partially by propagandistic interests. Military achievements and a good reputation on a battlefield were excellent means for an emperor to impress his people and make himself popular with his armies. Other emperors, such as Claudius and Trajan, added new territories to the empire for the sake of winning their soldiers' esteem, securing a frontier, or annexing areas where they expected to find great wealth or mineral resources. In the early 2nd century AD, ancient Rome reached its largest expanse, extending from the Irish Sea in the west into Mesopotamia in the east and from the Danube and Romania in the north to the Sahara Desert in the south. If you want to expand your knowledge of history even more, then you should watch this video.